Right, if we look at that page very quickly, we can see that everything is in standard font. And this being a web page, I can increase the size and decrease the size in a number of different ways, and that's all well and good, and I can increase and change the page width. But I want my hello and welcome to stand out. I want that to be larger. The one thing I don't do is go in and change the font. So the reason I don't change the font is because as an end user, anybody can change the page size, make it smaller, they can make it larger, they can look at it on different devices, etc., etc. So we don't use that method. We use another method that you've probably ignored in Word for many years, but if we look at any word processor, you'll see we have these things called normal, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So for example, in here, if I was to type in hello, and I'm going to give some default text. Okay. Now, I want this to stand out. And you say, oh, it's easy, you just change the font and everything. But what you should, in fact, do is you should, if that's going to be a heading, then you should actually click on the heading. And it will now give it a preset heading, and you can alter these. You don't just have to stick with their options. So, and if I wanted a slightly smaller one, that was a subheading, then I would pick, say, heading 2. That's now a subheading of heading 1. And I could do the same again. That would be heading 2. And these are now subheadings of heading 1. It's a bit like that's the chapter title and that's the subchapter. In fact, if I was to show you a table of contents, you can actually see how it works. So there's our heading 1, there's a heading 2, there's a heading 2 again. If I was to make a heading 1 again, so that's now another heading 1, and that's just to refresh this. You can now see it's gone back to being a heading 1. So a heading 1 is the main heading we'll have, say for example starting chapters, and then heading 2 would be a subcategory of heading 1. So it doesn't stand for the second heading. Here I've got another heading 2, which is a subcategory of heading 1, and you can keep going in, and so on and so forth. That's exactly what we're going to do now on NetBeans. Is on our web page, I want this to be a heading 1. Now to make it a heading 1, I make a chevron and go heading 1. Now you notice it's actually telling me you've got to add a second, you've got to close it at some point. I can click on it and it will give me my closure straight away, which is a nice way of doing it. Then I can take the content, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to paste it inside. So there's my heading 1. I'm going to test that now. Go to my Chrome page, and you can now see it's made a nice large hello and welcome, which is much larger than the other settings. And if I hope you like this page to be a subheading, well, not a problem. Just going to, in my chevron, open chevron, heading 2, close chevron. It's this one. I'm going to show you the other method. I'll just click there. Now you notice I've got some weird errors. It's underlined saying got some errors, and that's because I haven't closed my heading 2. So slash is now suggesting what I should use, heading 2, close my chevron, and there we go. Now all my errors have vanished. I'm now going to hit the run, go back into my Chrome, and you can now see that that is a slightly larger font, not as large as a heading 1, but larger than the default font. So I would like you now to make a heading 1 and a heading 2. Away you go.